Okay, so today we are looking at want to look at the last two topics as Windows Form and VBA in Excel. Okay, but I'll focus more on the VBA aspects, and then maybe at the end of the session I'll go back to speak about the or relate it to the Windows Form. Okay, so we have a fair idea of the entire course. Okay. So let me go to the VBA part. All right, so just trying to get to that page. All right, so VBA, okay, also known as Visual Basic for Application. Now, it's an event-driven program, programming language from Microsoft, predominantly used with Microsoft Office application like MS Word, Excel, Microsoft Access, MS Access, and so on. Now it helps to build customized applications and solutions to enhance capabilities of those applications. Okay. Now, one advantage of this VBA or VB for application, Visual Basic for application, is that you do not need Visual Basic installed on your PC. Okay. However, installing Office would implicitly help in achieving that purpose. Okay. So whichever version of Microsoft Office you have should be able to work this. Okay. So there are some instructions in the book. However, I'll just use the Microsoft Excel to go through this together. Okay. So let me open Excel and then we look at this. All right. So a moment. So just to demonstrate to you what we want to do in this course, open a different file in this topic.
What? Oh.
All right. So we want to look at how to design an application like this. Okay, using Excel. Okay, give it a nice interface and then give it some controls. Okay, with some buttons and all that. Okay, so we'll end up writing some codes behind the application. Okay. All right, so in this particular application, if you look at it carefully, there's student record, there's a tab, okay, or sorry, a text box to take maybe the name. There's a option button to accept maybe female or male. There's index number, okay, enter your index number. Then we have a combo box, which is a drop down, okay, to take some information. And then we have the department. Then we have save and reset. Now, when you click on the save button, what happens is that it saves the data into another sheet. Okay, so we have two sheets. One is the form, and we name one data. So if whatever I enter here and I save, automatically should be saved in here. Okay. So that is what we look at quickly with the VBA. Just a moment. All right, so let's go into it. So we'll create a new workbook. Okay. So a new worksheet, Excel worksheet, a new one. So you can select a blank worksheet. Then once you've done that, you want to, or the next thing you want to do is, want to activate this ribbon, okay, the developer ribbon. You want to activate it in your program, okay, so that, or in your Excel, so that you can write your VB codes there to solve some problems. All right, so we need to enable this particular developer tab. So to do so, go to File, Options. Now under Options, you locate the Customize ribbon. Okay. Customize ribbon. Then on the right-hand side, where you have the main tabs. Please, are you all with me? Hello?
Yes, please. Yes, sir.
I hope you are also practicing it at your end, because there will be an assignment
Sir.
to be submitted. So you have your tabs. So just look through it, the main tabs, look through them, and then look for developer. Okay, if developer is not checked, just click to check it. Okay, once it is checked, you click on OK, and then you see this developer tab okay, as part of your main tabs. Are we all there? Are we all there?
Yes, sir.
So this is working with
Yes, sir.
Microsoft Word. It's the Microsoft Excel. If you are using any other Excel or any other spreadsheet application, okay, you will not get these features. So we are working with Microsoft Office. Okay. Now, once you have it, there's a side that has the code. So the code part has the macros and then the basic, a Visual Basic code. This is where it opens a Visual Basic editor. Okay, like this, for you to write your codes in there. Okay. Then we have the add-ins, okay, but we won't do anything there for now. Okay, now the other part where we'll be engaged or using a lot is the controls or the controls. So there's the insert. When you click on the insert, it gives you the controls. Okay, now focus will be on the activeX controls. ActiveX controls. These ActiveX controls have buttons, okay, so command buttons, scrollers, checkbox, combo box, text box. There's a scroller bar. There are more controls when you click here. There's the option button. There's a label, image. Okay, if you want to insert image, these are all controls you can drag and drop on your Excel to perform a particular task. Okay. Now, anytime you are designing, you work within the design mode. Then if you want to check whether whatever you design is working, you exit or you turn off the design mode. Then there are properties, view code, which we are going to explore with this particular topic today. Okay. So let's go back to our home tab, go to our interface. We want to design our interface. Okay, so we are developing something for student records. Okay, a student records form. So what I'll do is I'll write the label or give it a title, student records form or student records form here. Okay, then maybe merge the cells. So I'll select up to say H and then center and merge it and then give it a background color. Okay, make the text bold in this order, then maybe a little bigger. Then we are going to take details like the name of the student, the gender. So the name, we'll use a text box. The gender, we'll use the how do we call it? The option button for the gender, and then we'll use a combo box for maybe the department of the student. Then we'll add some buttons. Okay. But to start with, we want to use the cells as our label. So I'll type here name, okay, where we have name of student. Then I'll type here gender, okay. Then we add department in this order. Name, gender, department. So maybe I can make it them all say centered. okay, or maybe to the left in this order, in this manner. Now with this, let me make it bigger so you can all follow. With this, I've designed what's more like I've designed my giving some room to my application interface. Okay, so we'll be adding some buttons to it though, but we want to make a border around it. Okay, so that later on we deactivate the guidelines. So for the border, I'll go here, select the tick, the one with the tick output. Select this all the way here. So because we'll be drawing some buttons at the bottom. Okay, and then select this. So this gives us our interface, our layout in this order. Yeah. Now, after this, we want to, this, are you following?
If you're playing fast.
Yes, sir.
Can I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So over here, we now want to add our controls to it. Okay, we want to add our controls to it. So we are going to add a text box to the name so that they can type the name in there. We will add option button, okay, so that they can add options there. And then after that, we would add the combo box for the department. Okay, so this is just what I'm saying, just like I showed you earlier. Okay, so if I go to the design mode, this is my text box, the option buttons, okay, and all of this in that order. Okay, so to add those controls, I'll go to developer tab, go to insert under the controls, developer insert. Then under that, I'll look for the one that says text box. Now we are working, there are form controls and there are activeX controls. We are working with the activeX controls. Okay, so I select the text box and then I'll use the guideline to help me draw a nice text box. So I have this as my text box. Then after the text box, now if you have more text box, you can just do copy and paste, Control C, Control V to paste multiple of them. So after my text box, I need an option button. So this is my option button here. Okay. So I insert an option button for the gender. Now I need two of that. So this is one option button for the gender. Then I'll copy and paste for another option button. Okay, so one will be male, one will be, or the other will be female. Then for the department, I need a combo box. So I go back to my activeX controls, look for which one is the combo box. This is box list. Yes, this is my combo box. I select it and then come and draw it. So you see the plus sign and then you just draw it. okay, to occupy whichever space you want to.
47033 0544 447033. Offer ya, we'll make sure area one of the dear Benwa, which me and you be elbow.
Prince Carter.
Now, Emma, Yana, ya, and see, on a Papa Gibbs here. The back ones, as no message is also there.
All right, so we have this interface. The last thing we need are the buttons. Okay, so I'll go back to activeX and then select command button. Command button. Okay, so I can put it down here. One will be save. I'll copy and then paste. The other will be reset. So with this, I have my interface nicely designed. Okay. So the next thing I have to do is to go and set the properties behind all these controls. Set the properties. So if you remember when we did Java, we had to give some properties. Okay. So in order to do that, I'll click on the control. Once it's selected, I'll right click and then go all the way to properties. You see an option there. Which is properties. Now the properties should give you a window like this. A dialog box or window like this. Are you following? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Now, if you look at the properties very well, they can be arranged in alphabetical order, or they can be within categories. Okay. So I want us to stick to the alphabetic approach, in alphabetical order. Okay. Now, if you look at the alphabetical order, the first property there is name into brackets. Name into brackets. Now, take note of these properties. Why am I saying so? The exams is going to be written, and some of the questions will be based on some of these properties, where I can give you a description of something, and then you state which property, okay, fits that particular description. Now, if we look back at, or go back to the properties window, you can see the first one is name. Okay, so we are going to give it a name that reflects the property, or that reflects the text button. What happens is that this name within the bracket, name into brackets, it's used to indicate the variable, okay, which we are going to use in the code. So we need to give it a unique name so that when we get into the code, we know when and where it's located and how we can reference it in the application. So I'm going to give this a name. So this is my name text box. So I'll say name TB, where TB is text box. Okay, I'll give it name. So with the text box, I think that's the only property we'll look at. Okay, even though there's a property in here as text. Now, text doesn't have any value. However, if you type a value there, that value will show inside the text box. Okay, but that's not what we want for the text box. Now, instead of closing it and going to select the next control, just click on this bar or the drop down on top of the properties window, and then select the next command from here without you closing the application. So the next command, I think, is combo box. So I select the combo box. It's also saying text. I don't need to give it a text. Now I'll show you how we populate the values into the combo box. Okay. But before that, let's give it a name. Okay, the name we'll use in the code. So I'll say this is department DPT CB, where CB is combo box. DPT for department, DPT CB. Okay. Then we're going to give it, set the values into the department so that when I click the drop down, like the way when I click this drop down, I had what? These values in here to select for. I want it to show in such a way using the combo box so that anytime I bring the drop down for department, I select my department. But before we do that, we need to populate some values. Okay. So click on close. Okay, just close the property tab and then come to a cell near your form. Okay. Now in this cell, I'm going to enter the department. So let's start with computer science. Let's say CPS. Let's say there's MLT. There's STEC department, or let's say SLT. So let's say these are the three departments we are developing the application for. So the students should be able to select their department from this so that we get their records. Okay. So once I have this, what I'll do is that I need to take note of the cell in which they are. So if I click on CPS, it's in what? Cell H3. Then MLT is in cell H4, SLT is in cell H5. Okay. So what I'll do is that I would go back into the combo box property. So I select the combo box, right click, go to properties. Now inside the properties, locate what is the list fill range. List fill range property. Are we all there? It's in alphabetical order, so look for the letter L. So list L. Are we all there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the list fill range. Once I have that, I go into the part where I set the values. Now remember that my details I entered was from what? Cell H3 to H5. Okay, so I'll put H3 column H5 in there. That's to say that if you want the range of values I want to fill into this drop down, those values are in cell H3 to H5. Okay. So you do it that way. Then we take the next one, which is command button. Now the button, we give it a name as there's save and then there's a reset. So I'll say this is save BTN, where BTN is button. Now we need to give it a name so that the name will show on the button as save. Now that property for that is called caption. It's called caption. So inside the caption, I'll put the save. The save caption. Okay. Now you remember also that we did accelerators, right? You remember accelerators in Java? Hey, my people. I can't hear you. If you are not there, let me end the class. Are we there?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm asking a question. Accelerators.
Yes, sir.
So if, for instance, there's an option here, accelerator. So if I want my S to be underlined in the save, okay, I'll just put that accelerator there. Okay. Just that my S value should be what? Underlined. That's an accelerator. So that if I press S, it will save. Okay. So these are things we learned in Java, and in VB is also the same. So I'll do for my next command button, go to properties, change it to reset BTN. Reset BTN. The accelerator will be R. The caption is going to be reset. Okay. So I have this. Then I'll go for the option button. So with the option button, my first one is the male. So we are choosing male and female. So male OB, option button. Okay. Now I'll come to caption again. Instead of showing option button 1, I want there to be male. And I come to the last one, which is option button 2. Change the name there to female OB, option button. Change the caption. Change the caption to female. Once you do that, you can now close your properties tab, and you should have your application looking this way. Are we all here?
Yes, sir.
All right. So can we continue? Can we go on?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We are good to go.
Now, I have all this done. Okay. Now, if I go to the design mode and I uncheck this and I click on this, now you can see that what my values, which I entered here, the departments are here for me to select from. Okay. I can check the box. I can type something in this command prompt. Okay, as name. So let's say Aram. Okay, and so on. Now the save button and reset button are not working yet. Okay, because we are here to write the codes behind them. So that is how the design mode would work. Design our interface. Now we want to hide these lines from here and even hide these properties so that people don't see that, oh, that is how we use them as our Dropbox or our list fill range inside our Dropbox. So what I'll do is I'll select all these properties, go to home, and then change the text color to white. Now, if the text color is white, no one knows that what we've typed anything there. Okay. Then the final part we want to remove these guidelines here so that the space will look blank. So I'll go to view under the show. Okay, you see what view guidelines. I'll uncheck it, and then what we have this without our guidelines. Okay, so this is showing us a nice interface we can now interact with. Okay, for our application. This I hope is clear to this point.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm going to create a new sheet. Okay, but the first one I'll rename it as form. Okay, or let me say form A. Then I'll name the other sheet as data or data A. Now form A will take what? Name, gender, and department. Now I want this name, gender, and department to show here anytime we save them in a particular order. Okay, so I'll put here name. I'll put here gender. And I'll put here department. Now we need to enter the number the entries made. So I'll put here serial number. So we have something like this. I'll just select this, give it a nice background color. Then maybe select 11 cells and give it a bold or a thick border in this form. You all follow this, what I've just done.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
so that
sir.
anytime we enter something here and we save, automatically it will show here.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, okay. So once this is done, I need to save my work. Then I can now go, or we can now go into the code to implement it. Now what we'll be doing is that with the coding part, I'll copy and paste from the handout. It's straight directly in the handout. So typing will take a while. So I'll just explain it, copy and then paste it. Okay. So what do I have to do? I have to save the work. So I'll go to file, select save as, maybe desktop, I want to save it. Then give it a name. And let's say student form or records form. Records form. Okay. Now take note of this. This is the most important part of the whole thing. You don't just click on save, but you select a save type. A save type. Okay. Now go to save type. Now we save it as Excel macro enabled workbook. Take note. Excel macro enabled workbook. That's how we save it. So I save it Excel macro enabled workbook and then click on save. So now this thing is saved and now it's ready for me to enter some codes or write some codes. Write some codes. Now, in order to write the code, go back to the developer view, developer tab, and then you see here Visual Basic. Okay. Visual Basic, just click on it. Now it gives you the interface to write your code. So now, because I've already have some project done already, it's showing me some code here. Okay, but basically you should see, when you look at the left hand side, you should see this project. I hope you can all see it on at your end. Project, VBA project. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Window on the left hand side. Now make sure you have over there, make sure you have selected the file you are working it. So in my case, it's records form. Okay, even though I have other examples, I'm working with the records form. So make sure you have sheet 1 selected. Sheet 1, which is my form. So form A, I have it selected, and make sure there's no text there. If there's any text, you can delete it. If there's any text there, you can delete it. Now, the first thing we want to do in the code is to validate our controls, to validate our form, okay, by validating the control. So that in case an individual is filling the form and does not enter all the details needed, the person can't save it to prompt the person to enter all the details. Okay, so I'll just copy the codes. So first, to validate the form, you need a function. You create a function. Okay. The code is in the handout, just that there are some 1 or 2 things I'll make changes to. Okay. So first, create a function. Okay. Now, anytime you create a function, so function validate form as Boolean. Anytime you create a function, you end that function. Okay. So I've ended a function. Then within this, what am I validating? I'm validating my department and the name. Okay, so the department, we name the name, the name we use in the property is name TB, where TB is text box, dot back color. So we want to give it a color white. Now we are doing this because when the person doesn't enter for that field and the person decides to click save, we want it to see a color red. So we, by default, we will make the color white so that if the person doesn't make those, fill that part, it changes to red. Okay. So name tab text box, and the next one is department DPT, and it's a combo box, and I use BCB to do that. Okay, so we have this, and then after that we set the validate form to be equal to true. So that is to say that what everything should be white. Okay. Now we introduce an if statement, if else statement, to handle whether the person should be allowed to save or not. Okay, so this is the code for that. It said if string. Now, anytime you have string in VBA, the keyword that goes with it is string. Okay, so I'll copy this two codes and then come and paste them here. So the first one, if string. So we are looking at the name. So name name TB. Okay, it's a variable name that we declared. So we make sure that in the code, it is the same name as we use on the form. So if name TB.value is equal to empty, so we just put a double quote there without a value. If it is empty, then we want to say that what? Then we should pop out a message box. The message box should say that the name or student name cannot be blank. Then after bringing out a message box, the message box should be an OK only message box. OK only. That means that we can't add any other value to it. Okay, so it's only going to be OK. Then after that, the name TB text field or text box should give you a color, a back color of red, which is VB red. Then after that, we activate the name TB for the person to do what? Another entry. Okay, to now enter again. Okay, that's if the name TB dot value is left blank. That's the name text field or text box. Now, else if the mail option box, so I think I did that mail OB option, OB for option box, is equal to false. That means we didn't check it. And the female option box, that's OB.value, is also equal to false. Now that's the condition for the option box. It's not like the if else. It's not like the combo box or the text box. It's equal to false. It should pop up a message and say, please select your gender. Now that should also be OK only and VBA information. Now, because it's a combo box, we can't set it to red. Okay, so a message will just pop up. Then we move to the next one, which is the one with the combo box. Sorry, because an option button, we can't change it to red. So we go to the department, which is a combo box. So else if, so pardon me, I'm just doing copying and pasting so that I can edit it and we'll be quick with it. So now we are saying here that if the department, which I named it as what, DPT CB dot text, that's whatever text is in it, that text is not equal to, now this is the symbol for not equal to. Okay, it's in your handout. It's not equal to CPS. And that same thing, then we concatenate it with the AND. And if it's not equal to MLT, okay, and it's not equal to department, it's not equal to SLT, then what do? We should show a message box and say that the department or department cannot be blank. Okay, so you should show a message box which is OK only VB. Then change the department, the background color to red, and then activate again. So I'm changing the variable name or the identifier there to suit what I'm using in my code. Okay. So with this, that brings us to the end of our if statement, okay, or and the end of our function. So with this, I'll just say end if. Anytime we start if, we end the if. End the if. So with this, I need to save it. I need to save it. If I go back to my application, when I click save, it's not doing anything because we've not written the code to save the work. Okay. So if you go into the handout, there are two codes there. Sorry. So we have the first part, which is what I just did, the validate fact, the validate form part. Okay, which ends here. Then this is for the reset button. Okay, I'll skip the reset button one, but you can try that code and come to the save button. Okay, so I'll skip the reset button and do the save button so that we can end the class quick. I have a meeting to attend to in a few minutes. Okay. So the save button is here. Now, because it's a button, we have to introduce an event behind it. Okay, because it's a button, we need to introduce an event behind it. So that anytime we click, that event will be triggered. So I'll go back to my my VB code or Visual Basic coding part, and then hello, can you hear me? Hello. So please, are you following? Are you all following? Because before we move to the saving part.
Yes, sir, you are following.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We want to
All
try
right.
it on our own.
Okay. So with the save part, okay, we have all this here for the function. Now with the save part, just go to this part where you see general, and then locate the save button. So I've saved mine as save BTN, save button, and then click it. Once you click on it, it gives you the event. Okay, the click event. I hope you can all see the click event. So a sub
Yes.
for the click event. Now with that click event, all I'll do is the code under the click part, the event part, I'll just copy that code, then modify it. Okay, so let me just copy the entire code and modify it to suit what we are doing, so that it will run a bit fast with it. So we have private sub save button underscore click. Then in there we have this statement application dot update or screening updating equals for false. Then we use dim iRow as long. Now iRow is going to specify the rows. Okay, sorry, we need to accept the values. We need to accept the values, okay, in the form of a row. So if we save it, it should show in a row form on the sheet which we name the data form or the data A. Okay, so row equals sheet into bracket data. So I named mine as data A, so I'll change it to data A. Range from A10, okay, range all the way to A10, and then dot end XL up dot row plus one. Okay, dot row plus one. Now over here it says if validate form is equal to true, then with the workbook, okay, which is the workbook we are working with, which is this one, workbook dot this sheet. And which sheet are we working with? Data 2. We want to save everything into data, the data sheet, not on the form. So if we go back to the data part, you can tell that we have what? Serial number, name, gender, and department. So we are saying that the column is what? ABC, column ABCD. Department is D. So if we come back to this, I'm going to delete the last two, and end at D. Okay. So workbook.sheet data A dot range. So range column A and iRow dot value equals iRow minus 1. Okay. So this is to say that in that particular column A, which is the serial number, it should populate it. So if you enter the first record, it will save it as 1. If you enter the next record, it will be 2 and counting in that order. Then the B is where we want to take in the name. Okay, so name TB, which was how I saved it. The text box, whatever value comes there, we take that value and then we save it. So name TB.value. Okay. Then the C was the option menu. So the C was the gender, male or female. So range C into bracket C and iRow dot value equals. Now the I is double I, not just if. I if, okay. Then male. So we did male CB, or sorry, male OB option box dot value is equal to true, comma, male quote, and then female in quote. Okay. Then we take the last one, which is range D iRow dot value. Then we wanted the last one is for department, so dpt dot cb, where cb is combo box. Then after that you end your weight. So this is the weight we end it. Then we do a core reset. However, in my code now, I've not written the function for the reset. So I can't call that reset function. So what I'll do is I'll delete this for now. But when you write the code and you introduce or, then you can call the reset function. Okay, but with mine, there's no reset there. Then the next thing is to end the, or sorry, after the if there's an else we put the update screening, a screen updating to true. Then we end the if. After ending the if, we end, we exit the sub, then we set it to true, and then we end the sub again. Okay. So this is the code for our application. So I'll minimize this. I've saved it, minimize it. Now when I come here and I select the details and I click on save, it populates the value in here for me. If I take the next one, maybe let's take a different name. Let's say Arnold. Arnold, how do you spell your name? Is it O-R-L-D? Like this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Arnold is a male. What department? Computer science. Then I save. When we go to the A data, it shows me Arnold. Then maybe let's take Cornelia. Cornelia is a female. Let's say Cornelia is reading SLT. So I enter that, I save it. The data sheet gives me Cornelia. Okay. So you can do this to so many Excel related applications to make them more interactive and easy to use. I hope this is simple to implement.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I'll give you a group assignment on this to submit next week. Come and submit next week. When are you writing your face paper?
Monday.
On Monday. Okay, so this is what I'll do. I'll give you the assignment. The day you come and write the VB paper. Are we all here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that same day, you do the project and come and submit it as a group. You just bring it, I see it, give you marks, and then you go. It's not like you are coming to defend it or anything. Are we all here?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Maybe
Yes.
I might end up
Okay,
asking
sir.
some 1 or 2 questions, but it's just to cover from some of the group assignments or the group projects which we couldn't do in class. That I have something for you as a continuous assessment. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that will be it. So I'll send the question to Vincent to give to you. Maybe I think the full-time class, some groups are working on a hospital, ATU clinic. Other groups are working on ATU hostel to design a form like this. And then there's another group, I've forgotten what they are working on. So I'll type them all out, give it to you. All right. So let's look at the last part. Of the handout, which is on the Windows form. Okay, so I'll talk about it briefly, and then we can call it a day. Then talk about the exam structure, and then we'll end for today. Okay, so all of this semester, the examples we've been looking at has to do with the console application. Okay, however, there is a Windows form also, which we can use to develop Windows application. Okay, so that it's here. So this is my interface. This is my interface. I'll create a new project. Create a new project. Now I have to select what? The Windows, Visual Basic Windows. Okay. Windows. Okay. Now with the Windows, I have what? The Windows form application. So I select it, give it a name under here, and then click on OK. Now this is giving me this Windows form. To my left, I have my toolbox with all my controls that I can drag and drop. Okay, I have my form here with the minimize, maximize, and close button. So I can drag if I need a button, I can drag and drop the button. Now the good thing about this is that you don't need to set a layout before doing it. Okay, once you have this, you are good to go. You don't need to set layout and so on, all those options. Okay. All right. So once I have my button here, I can now set my properties. So when I right click, I can go to properties, then it will open the property tab for me. Now the property tab is just like we saw in the Excel, VBA. Okay, it's just the same. So you can have it in alphabetical order or in categories. Alphabetical order or in categories. Okay, so I'll maintain the category, the alphabetical or alphabetical approach. So we see here that what property name into brackets. Okay, so this name into brackets, it says here that it gives a description at the bottom. It says it indicates the name used in the code to identify the object. Okay, so for instance, in exams, I can bring a multiple choice question like this. Please, are you all with me?
Yes, sir.
I can bring a multiple choice question like this. Like I'm saying, know the descriptions, know them. So a multiple choice question like this. Let me just copy. Okay, this description, which says, so I can just say dash indicates David, can you mute your microphone, please? Indicate the name in the code to identify the objects. And I'll say A, text, B, name, C, into brackets name, and then D, caption. What do you think is the right answer?
C.
Into bracket name.
Into brackets name. Thank you.
C.
So C is the correct answer. Okay. So I have a couple of questions in the multiple choice part. With your microphone disturbing. When you're mute and you respond, kindly just mute it, unless your background is not noisy. Okay. So in your exams, there'll be multiple choice questions. Like I said, it's not for practical exams. Okay, it's not a project. It's multiple choice question and written part. So when you are doing this, take note of some of the property, especially the ones that we are using the more, and know what they do. For instance, button, with a button, the name is used to indicate what the name used in the code. Okay. However, there is text. Now, text is the text associated with the control. That is what will show on the control. Whereas the name into bracket is what will be used in the code. So take note of all these, some of the properties we are using and what they do in your program, because some will be coming as multiple choice. And then some of these controls and what they do. Okay. So together with the mid-semester exams we did, there were some questions we answered. Take note of them, compare with the full-timers too, and see what questions they had, because everyone had different set of questions. So compare with them and know the questions they have. Okay. So that is how you can also develop applications using the Windows form with the properties. Then when you finish, you can write your code. So for instance, because this is a button, I want to add some events to it. Okay, now to add events, just select the button. Look at the top of the properties. You see an icon there which says events. Just check it. And then it shows you all the events. Now, which event are you looking for? I'm looking for click event. All I'll do is just click on it or double click. Okay. Then it generates the code for me. And then I'll write whatever code I want for that button to do inside here. Okay. So if you look in the handout, there are some couple of examples there which I would want you to implement. Try them on your own. Just get some hands-on with them. So basically, that is all for today. That is all for today. Any question?